The Vietnam War lasted from November 1st, 1955 to April 30th, 1975. In 1968, the war was at its highest, well known for the Tet Offensive which killed thousands on both sides. During this time period, many Americans opposed the Vietnam War and protested, but in 1971, after the Pentagon Papers released by the New York Times, the views of many Americans changed. Daniel Ellsberg was born on April 7, 1931. He grew up with his family in Chicago, Illinois, and later went to Harvard University with really good scholarships and grades. Before finishing his time at Harvard, Ellsberg enrolled in the Army for 3 years, but later came back to Harvard to finish his graduation and publishing his thesis, Risk, Ambiguity, and Decision. In his book, the Ellsberg Paradox was created, a theory in decision-making illustrating people's aversion to ambiguity when they have to make choices. A first win for Ellsberg's contribution to the world. In the beginning, Ellsberg was a supporter of the Vietnam War. In 1964, Ellsberg started working at the Pentagon. On his first day of work, an attack on the USS Maddox by Vietnamese troops was reported. Many Americans died. However, it was an event that never happened. An event that was used by the government as an excuse to fuel more troops into the war. At the time, all Americans did not know about this lie. As time was progressing, Ellsberg worked on a secret plan with the Pentagon to escalate the war. He went on to Vietnam as a military analyst for 2 years along the front lines and came back to the Americas to work at RAND Corporation, a non-profit policy think tank that assists and offers research and analysis to the United States Armed Forces. However, it was during this time period that Ellsberg grew opinions against the Americas' involvement in the Vietnam War.
I assumed I was breaking a law and that I would be prosecuted and that the effect would probably be a life sentence.
So you had to square yourself with the idea of spending the rest of your life in prison before you could really start releasing this information.
I think I wouldn't have thought of doing that if it weren't for the example of young Americans who were going to prison to protest the war nonviolently. And it didn't take a lot of thought or anguish.
After working with the government for years, Ellsberg turned against them. In 1971, he turned in the first document titled United States-Vietnam Relations, 1945-1967, a study prepared by the Department of Defense, to the New York Times. 3 months later, the first articles about the document were published. The whole event was named the Pentagon Papers. During a whole week, the New York Times continued to publish more articles about the document. However, ordered by the government, any further publication of the documents had to be stopped.
And I thought, all right, I have in my safe thousands of pages of documents that give the lie to this pattern of deception. I'm not going to be part of this system of lying anymore.
Ellsberg decided to spread documents to the Washington Post and another 15 newspaper agencies. By many, he was deemed a hero, exposing the lies of the government. The documents, he said, were evidence of a quarter-century aggression, broken treaties, deceptions, stolen elections, lies, and murder. Soon, Ellsberg was taken under arrest under the Espionage Act of 1917. While he was taken under custody, the New York Times took the United States to court, fighting against the right to publish information about the received documents. A New York Times company versus the United States, it was a battle of a right to free speech of the press. New York Times won, as the documents were not to harm U.S. citizens as determined by the court. To this day, the court case is a landmark victory for news agencies and their reinforcement of free speech under the First Amendment. Ellsberg thought it was worth going to prison in order to tell the truth about the government. He was supposed to serve 115 years in prison, but because evidence of wiretapping and illegal searches by the famous plumbers were brought up, he won his case. Ellsberg hoped for other people to do the same thing, leak high documents that will help all the people. Today, many leaks about the government occur, but as Ellsberg puts it, it's corporations or agencies leaking documents protecting themselves because they feel they are endangered. To this day, Ellsberg hopes that soon a big reveal about the government will come up. Whistleblowing is a term which defines Ellsberg, exposing the lies of the government. Instead of hiding in the shadows, he helped the people of the United States discover the truth about their government. The Pentagon Papers shifted everyone's ideas about the involvement of the government in the Vietnam War forever.